This is Kehinde WIley, and in 2017 he was chosen from a shortlist of artists to paint former US President Barack Obama. This painting went on to attract 1 million views at the National Gallery. You may have also heard of him because he has been dubbed by some as the most successful black artist since Basquiat. What makes him so much more ahead of other artists of his time? This is a story of Kehinde WIley. Born in the 1980s in South Central LA to a Nigerian dad and African American mother, his name, Kehinde, short for Omokende in Yoruba, translates to the second born of twins, his older twin being named Taiwo to keep with the Nigerian tradition. A few years later, his father had returned to Nigeria, leaving his mother to care for him and his other siblings. Later in life, his mum, determined to keep him off the streets of LA, enrolled him into art classes on the weekends and kept him indoors during the week. By age 11, he was awarded a place at the USSR Art Exchange Program funded by billionaire financier Michael Milken. In 1999, he studied at the San Francisco Art Institute and went on to earn his Masters of Fine Arts from Yale University in 2001. He originally started studying as he didn't see a way for artists to make money. However, the studying helped him hone his skills and he began exploring some of the concepts in his art such as masculinity, sexuality, and a representation of the black body. During his time in art school, he was inspired by images from 17th century painters such as Francois Gerard or Jacques-Louis David. When looking at these paintings, WIley felt a sense of alienation because he wasn't able to see himself or anyone who represented him in these kinds of paintings. In 2001, after graduating, WIley started his artist in residency at the Studio Museum Harlem alongside Ada Millett and Kira Lynn Harris. WIley was really focused on displaying the male black body differently to what he was used to seeing portrayed in the media. He felt a lack of joy in how black masculinity was being represented in popular culture.
Often the kinds of kids that are called super predators.
It's at this residency WIley created pieces such as the Conspicuous Fraud series number 1. WIley realized that color plays an important role in the way we think of things and how they are perceived, hence his use of the bright green background. WIley wanted to use the over-exaggerated hair as a sign of strength. The position of the subject looking down on you really adds to this power as well. New York was a big inspiration for WIley's work. WIley started scouting strangers from the streets of New York to be in his paintings. On their arrival to his studio, he would have them look through art history books and pick their favourite portraits, which WIley would then recreate with these strangers. Through this process, he created pieces such as The Female Prophet of Deborah. By placing his subjects into the positions of these classic works, WIley turned a style he once felt alienated by into one of his main strengths in his work. Even the way he titles his work encourages you to compare his work with the originals created centuries ago. Historically, these kinds of paintings and positions was reserved for the elite of society, typically European kings, queens and nobles. Kehinde WIley is big on meeting his subjects by chance and serendipity. However, he has made a few exceptions. The first was when Michael Jackson had seen WIley's Napoleon leading the army over the Alps in the Brooklyn Museum while shooting for what would be his final cover with Ebony magazine. After some back and forth between the two, Kehinde WIley ended up painting the last commissioned portrait of Michael Jackson before his death. In 2006, WIley fell in love with Beijing after visiting a friend and liking what he saw. He soon opened a permanent studio, bought a house and even started a 5-year relationship with a Chinese DJ. A year later, he started his World Stage series with the World Stage China. With the World Stage series, WIley began looking for influences outside of Western Europe, where he created works such as Bamboo Shoots and Two Heroic Sisters of the Grassland. In this series, WIley had his models take on poses from propaganda posters from the Mao years in China. In these artworks, we can see WIley has clearly developed his colourful background in his work that we are used to seeing today in more of his recent work. Between 2008 and 2009, WIley continued the World Stage series with the World Stage Africa, Lagos to Dakar, where he started using poses from African sculptures such as the Dogon couple. While he was on his travels, he met with fellow artist Bartholomew Togu, who assisted him with finding textiles for the background of his paintings and what he would go on to use to create his iconic suits. Later in 2009, Wiley continued his exploration of global narratives with The World Stage Brazil, where he focused on the Portuguese and Spanish presence in South America. Now, you may have noticed up until this point, Wiley hasn't included any women in his portraits. Wiley did make an exception when he was commissioned by VH1 to paint for the Hip Hop Honors and painted Salt and Pepper in 2005. In 2012, he was commissioned to paint a portrait for Santi Gold for her album Master of My Make-Believe. In the same year, Wiley started his series entitled An Economy of Grace, which was his first series dedicated to female subjects. When Wiley was asked about why it took him so long to start painting women's bodies, he simply replied, "I do not occupy one. So much of my work is about me and it's selfish, and it's happily so. I think the only way you can point outwards and do anything useful is to start in a place of confidence." The Economy of Grace aimed to provide an alternative way of representing black women and femininity. In this series, Wiley maintained his technique of having his subjects mimic the poses from 17th century painters. The Economy of Grace is also where he painted his pieces entitled Judith Beheading Hallfreeze, which showed Judith as a black woman holding the decapitated head of the Assyrian general Hallfreeze, represented as a white woman, which later earned him a little bit of controversy. Side note, am I the only one that thinks this particular painting looks a little bit like Michaela Cole? Let me know in the comments if you agree. Wiley recruited black women from the streets of New York and dressed them in gowns by Richard Rissy of Givenchy. This was a little different to how he ran his other exhibitions, as he would normally have his subjects pick their own clothes. However, this gave these particular paintings a rather regal feel to them. Wiley did this because he really wanted to follow the traditional sense of what glamour and beauty had been represented as in art history. It was common practice in the 18th and 19th century for nobles to commission unique clothing for portraiture. If we look to art history and how women have been represented, they would all look very similar, mainly Caucasian. He also released a documentary alongside this directed by Jeff Dupree, which you can only access if you live in the US. In 2014, Wiley continued to expand his World Series project by traveling to Israel, Jamaica, and Haiti, where he continued to portray black people all over the world in an uplifting light and remix more classical paintings. Wiley picked his countries based on who he thought had a significant political presence for the world community at large. During this time, he created more works which included both men and women, such as Naomi and Her Daughters and The Emperor of Russia. Then in 2016 came the opportunity to paint former US President Barack Obama. Before Wiley was chosen, there was a shortlist of artists who had to be interviewed by the president, where Wiley became the first black American artist to paint the first black American president. The painting went on to be displayed alongside the portrait of Michelle Obama by Amy Sherald at a National Portrait Gallery, which nearly doubled their number of visitors from 1.3 million to 2.3 in 2018. Today, Wiley continues to produce work in the same kind of style with his most recent exhibition Tati, which confronts the legacy of Paul Gauguin and takes a closer look at the Tati trans community. Wiley has also gone on to create his own artist in residency in Senegal, Black Rock, where he aims to help facilitate art created outside of the Western context. No details of the artist he has selected has been released just yet, but he has revealed that he favours painters more. Wiley is an advocate for uplifting the image of black people worldwide. He stands proudly on the shoulders of the old masters before him and borrows from their work to present the black body in a way that is uncommon in today's media. Wiley remains committed to exploring and displaying these images on a global scale. His work asks us to view how we view black masculinity, femininity, and its place in the world. Wiley's work also allows us to take a close look at the absence of black people in art history. If you made it this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. This is my first YouTube video, so let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. Give me a like as well and subscribe.